They told you that you were weak because you chose silence. They told you that you were invisible because you didn't fight for the spotlight. They said the only path to victory in this world was to be loud, flashy, and demand attention like a fool. And perhaps you believed them. You believed the lie that stillness was a flaw, that patience was a curse, and that your introspective nature was a prison. Your silent ego always tried to protect itself, wearing the mask of rush and noise to feel part of the game, sabotaging the chance to hear what your soul needed to say. But the truth they never wanted you to hear is this: the quiet one is not weak. They are unreadable, untouchable, and in the end, they always win. Noise burns fast like fireworks. Silence endures like stone. Think of Jung, isolated and in inner discipline, excavating the unconscious while louder voices dismissed him. The quiet one's clock operates on a different frequency. In this video, we will dismantle the illusion that power resides in noise. You will see why your invisibility is your greatest shield, why your patience is your sharpest weapon, and how the fear of silence is the ego's defense against true awakening. You are not here to compete for their attention. You are here to survive them, to overcome them, and to rise when they have destroyed themselves with chaos. The game has always been rigged in your favor. Now, let's find out why. External chaos is, ironically, familiar. The chaos of the mind, the mental noise, is a psychic defense, an incessant distraction that prevents us from facing the raw truth of our soul. This invisible escape is the ego's most efficient disguise, becoming our subtle form of sabotage, keeping consciousness busy so it doesn't have to surrender to the pain or the existential void. When we become silent, the inner world stirs. It is at this point that silence ceases to be an emptiness and becomes a transforming pressure. That is why stillness works like an untouchable mirror, forcing you to face the parts of your ego that you disguise as light or spirituality. It is not about weakness. It is the force of the inner truth. In the relational field, this quietude transforms into strategic invisibility. The pressure of containment is manifested by the fact that when you speak less, the world around you becomes restless. People rush to fill the void, confessing more than they planned and exposing weaknesses. Your silence, then, becomes a blade of discernment, forcing the other to reveal themselves without you having to compel a confession. To anchor this power, I invite you to the sacred pause technique. Before responding to any provocation, before making any decision, or sending any message, stop. Resist the urge to react for 10 seconds. Use stillness as an anchor. In those 10 seconds of inner discipline, you do not react. You respond from your real presence. This is the path of non-reactivity. When we master the pause, we begin to master time. And this is where stillness transforms into durability. The world lives at the speed of immediacy, but the power of the quiet one lies in their ability to operate in a different temporal dimension. The world idolizes the dramatic gesture and the performative spirituality that seeks immediate validation and consumes itself in rush and spectacle. This straw fire of performance is an illusion that drains the soul, because the ego needs to prove, while the soul simply is. But the discipline of stillness reveals that patience, or what others call the boredom of routine and contemplation, is not slowness, it is resistance. This is the mountain's advantage, a philosophical concept. It is not born in a day, but over centuries, silent, immovable, inevitable. Spiritual growth cannot be rushed. Inner discipline is the silent accumulation of strength that guarantees the longevity and inevitability of your evolution. Patience turns time itself into a weapon. Often, suffering in human relationships is not a communication problem, but a clash of frequencies. What happens when your inner frequency, calm, quietism, does not align with the manifestation in relationships? Rush, impatience, reactivity. Stillness acts as a tuning fork, forcing your reality to adjust to the frequency of your presence. Therefore, honoring the time of your process is the foundation of spiritual maturity. This ethics of delay means that true ethics arise from the ability to sustain the pause, not to act on impulse. What is built slowly in silence cannot be destroyed quickly. And if your patience gives you dominion over time, your stillness gives you dominion over space, making you unreadable and, therefore, invulnerable. What the world calls an absence of power is, in fact, your most ingenious protection. Being forgotten is not the absence of power, it is the concealment of power. The world taught you to fear invisibility, but it is, in fact, your greatest weapon. The pursuit of spiritual recognition, the shine, is the spotlight trap. This is the paradox. The spotlight that flatters is the same fire that burns. The search for external validation exposes you to judgment, vanity, and envy, stealing your energy and your authenticity. When you are dismissed or underestimated, the guard of others relaxes. No one expects you to attack. No one expects you to dominate. This is the power of the observer, where social invisibility gives you access to secrets, blind spots, and weaknesses that noise would never allow you to see. The quiet mind sees what the loud mouth cannot. The subtle wisdom of appearing weak or uninteresting is the mask of the harmless. The wise person, as Machiavelli described, must appear weak when strong and harmless when dangerous. The appearance of harmlessness disarms your enemies. Your silence deceives them, for they reveal vulnerabilities, believing you lack the will to use them. The ethical principle of the quiet one is that they do not need to prove anything. They use discernment to protect themselves and to act at the precise moment, with the ethics of non-reactive action. True strategic invisibility frees your consciousness from the need to appear. But do not be fooled. This power of the quiet one cannot be sustained if it is merely an external strategy. It demands an integrity that confronts the greatest lie of our time, the illusion that light must be actively sought to be found. The modern spiritual path is full of clichés that, while sounding comfortable, function as a subtle obstacle to awakening. The invisible error is using spirituality as an analgesic. Toxic positivity and empty phrases become a sophisticated defense to mask suffering, instead of moving through it in silence and lucidity. Awakening is not the denial of pain. It is the capacity to endure it without destroying yourself. This is the confrontation between the flight from pain and transcendence. The ego dressed as Buddha is in control when there is the desire for control, the need to have all the ready answers, and the compulsion for belonging to a group. It uses spiritual language, but it is merely disguising vanity. Stillness teaches you what rushing could never teach, the contemplation of the void. Completeness does not reside in filling, but in the capacity to endure the emptiness. Pain only dissolves when it is embraced in silence and without judgment. The deep well metaphor reveals that stillness is not the absence of life, but the depth necessary to access the clear water of your essence. The loud ones scratch the surface, drinking the murky water of distraction. The quiet one descends, endures the cold and pressure, and accesses the truth that sustains life. And from this depth, where the essence resides, a mind is born that is not content with the superficial, a mind that refuses the addiction to speed and the noise of "I already know." The incessant search for knowledge, for concepts, and for quick fixes is, often, merely a form of anxiety disguised as a desire for evolution. The noise of knowledge, the chatter of the intellect that Nietzsche despised, is the greatest obstacle to real presence and living wisdom. You don't need more information. You need silence to integrate what you already know. Quietism is the denial of the desire to be the holder of knowledge. The silent anguish behind the incessant search for ready answers is the desire for control, the fear of living the unknown. Stillness dissolves this need because presence is, in itself, the only necessary answer. This is the essence of the secret of surrender. The paradox of stillness is that the more you stop seeking, the more the real reveals itself spontaneously. Surrender is an act of silent power, not passivity. The practice of listening is the highest form of presence and ethics. When you are not busy formulating your next response or defending your point of view, you free yourself from the ego. Silence in the relationship becomes your arena for control and discernment. You began this journey believing you were invisible and weak. Now you see that the traits they mocked are the very laws of power and awakening. Victory is forgotten because no one prepares for the quiet one's ascent. The loud one burns out and disappears. You endure in silence. The extravagant fight for attention is vain. You fight for inevitability. Symbolic practice. The grain of sand exercise. For a few minutes, visualize a sandstorm. The noise is deafening. The chaos is total. You are the grain of sand trying to shout, but you are inaudible. The grain of sand practice is the recognition that, outside of stillness, you are just noise in the noise. Your power is not in fighting the storm, but in becoming the silence at its center. Your action is not to shout, but to move with the ethics of non-reactive action, choosing the thousandth of a second of consciousness. This is your rebirth. Weakness dies here. In its place is a rare, unreadable, feared mind destined to win. You are the master they never saw coming. If this message has touched your soul and activated something deep that the noise was hiding, subscribe to this channel. Not as a follower, but as a member of this order of the quiet ones, those who are destined for spiritual maturity and ethical coherence. Leave a comment below with the word stillness and tell me, what is the lie about silence that you are going to abandon today? Use your silence to build your inner fortress. Your final command is this: stand still. Be quiet. Wait. And when the time comes, act with the silent force of real presence. And, if you wish to continue in this vibration, watch the video we left in the card. It was lovingly chosen to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.